So today we're going to look at a simple way in which you can improve your brand loyalty. Do you know that 82% of people in America have brand loyalty? So is your brand getting in people's head? Is your social media account also reflecting your brand so that people can't ignore your brand? And how is your brand against your competitor? Is it everywhere or is it hard to find? Do you even know what your brand is? Well, today we're going to dive straight in and also show you a trick that's going to help you to perceive how your brand is used and how you can use your social media platforms to make it so clear that people can't ignore you, and when they're ready to buy, they think of your brand, and then the brand loyalty starts. So welcome to my video. So I'm Zane from Zanet Design, and I help businesses like yours grow on the internet. So if you've seen any of my videos, you'll see that I share my experience of over 20 years as a web designer, and I try and help you to see some of the things I've learnt, and at the same time we perhaps look at tips and tricks that are going to particularly help you grow on a local basis. So never before has local business suffered so much and needed search engine optimization. So these types of tutorials are free, so make sure you subscribe down below, and then you'll be able to enhance your business and benefit on a local basis. So we're looking today at brand loyalty and how can you make sure that your branding is so clear, so obvious that people can't ignore it when they're making decisions about which service or business they're going to go with. Well, we're going to look at a couple of things you can do now, and you'll find at the end of this video as well a really useful tip that's going to help you to make sure your presence is in everyone's face. Let's have a look and see how we can do this.
So there's no doubt about it that branding affects people's decisions on buying. And as was mentioned, that people have brand loyalty. In fact, Neil Patel did a study on this and said despite the claims that brand loyalty is dead, the truth is it's powerful. In fact, 82% of adults in the US claim that loyalty to a product brand is what they do. So think about your brand. If you're growing your business, then does your brand actually even exist? Do you know what your brand is? If you don't know what your brand is, how can people have brand loyalty? Now here we've got some logos. I did a study on logos on one of my websites, logo and colours. I was looking at how colours also affect logos. So this is a topic that's close to my heart. And I think you'd agree, for instance, if you see a yellow M, you immediately associate that with McDonald's. It doesn't say McDonald's, it doesn't say burgers, but that's what we understand. And as you can see, when it comes to branding, the nationals and the internationals have some really strong branding that's established, and people will buy just based on their branding. When it comes to local business though, and local search engine optimization, have you considered how you're viewed? Do you have a branding that's so strong that people think that they see it everywhere locally and they assume that you've got a national or an international company? Well, you can give that view away in effect by just making sure your branding is strong. So let's look at this simple trick. In fact, there's a couple of things we're going to do that are going to really make sure that people can't turn away from your branding. So the first thing to simply do is to just go to Google and type in your business name. So I've typed in mine, so I'm going to use my business as an example of how you should be aiming with your branding. Now, I've gone for a simple logo, and if you can do some type of square or circular logo, a logo that fits in a kind of square, you'll find that you can use it quite often in a lot of the different social media platforms. Either way, you want something that's going to be visually clear, whether it's with the name or without the name. So you can see here Zanet Design, and I've also got the logo. So sometimes it appears with the name, sometimes it appears without the name. Now here's the challenge, this is a trick. I just want you to search, go to a desktop like I've done here, search for your company and just see how many times is there some visual branding. So I can count, I'm just doing an experiment here, I count 1, 2, 3 visually things that stimulate my eye that I've been branded here. And if you come down the page, there's 4 and a bit further down. Right, so we've got on the main fold of the first part of the page, oh, there's another one there. So we'll say 4 if you include those there. Now, I want you to do that for your company and for your competitor's company and then beat them. So how can you do that? Well, one of the things you'll need to do is know how you can first of all make sure your logo. So you may want to just either revise your logo to one that will fit in these areas well, because if it goes too small, then it almost becomes invisible. I mean, this isn't too bad. It still is evident. The difference is as well the colours. If you've got strong colours as well, that'll make another difference. So we're not saying change your branding totally, but what we're saying is just consider how it's viewed. Now, if I go to photos and I want to add branding, this is where you go. So you just click on photos and you'll see the first one is a cover photo. So that refers to this section here, which gives you control on your branding. And the second area is a logo. And that's literally just a square version of my logo. And if you want to know a bit more about that, then you click on there. It will give you some information about how you can do that. Now, if you notice that Google actually says you can control what others see about you. So a lot of the time we've got control over certain things here and people aren't using it correctly. So these two definitely should have an impact on how your branding is viewed. Now, why is that so important? Well, because if you go to Insights, you'll see that there's a section there called Branded. And I've covered this before, but I cover it again, that this is again another important to try and get these three all kind of working together. So you've got new direction from directors, they know who you are, they type in your address. You've got discovery, so they're finding who you are from search engines. And you've got branded. And branded is really, as it says here, customers who find your listing searching for a brand related to your business. So here's my question. If you were searching for a web designer, but you kept seeing this colour, this logo coming up again and again every time you searched, even though you haven't made a decision, is that going to have an impact on your decision? Well, for 82%, they start to get familiar and they'll then start to then think of in terms of they recognise a brand. And they may not even realise where they've seen it before. But there, when they're looking for web designers, for instance, in my area, they'll continue to see my brand. And you can check as well, if they clicked on images, this again serves up my brand. So you want to kind of own your company name, but you also not only want to own it, but visually you want to own it too. So that's the challenge you've got. Now there's a few other things you can do as well to add to this as we're talking about the importance of branding. There's other ways in which you can get this really working hard on your behalf. So let's have a look at those things. Go to Moz Local, and for free they'll give you a chance to then do a search to see how you're perceived. Now this doesn't give you the visual perception, but this gives you an idea of how you're perceived amongst some of the directories, so things like Google Maps, Foursquare, Bing, Facebook and so on. Now I know my Facebook is complete, so I'm not too sure why it doesn't find it, but it's even picking up on little things like there's a dot after the Zanet Design Limited, and for some reason my address doesn't have the number. So this is just a case of making sure that when you put the information in to these various directories, that they reflect an identical amount of information. So I've covered this before, but that's another thing just to add to your branding. But rather than go into that, just one of the other things I wanted to say is that when you've done a search for your Zanet Design, in my case, or for your company, there's something else you can do as well. And this is the other second part of the challenge. And that's to go to the bottom and see how many of your profiles are showing up, your social media profiles. Now I'm going to right click and open these three. And I want you to do that on your competitors as well. And then if you click on this one, I want, without scrolling down the page, again, do I visually see my brand? So I see it there, 1, 2, 3. So that's good. Let's aim for 3 on each one if we can. 1, 2, 3. So that's good. And Twitter, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there you go. So I want you to do it to your competitor, do it to yours. And if you add up all of your social media, and then you also add up all the references that you can see here, just on the first page without scrolling down, make sure that you are ahead of your competitor. And the simple way to do that, of course, is if you're on Facebook, you can then go in and edit your profile. The same with LinkedIn, and you can add the logos there too. So now you've got a really strong branding that's visual and has an impact on how people perceive you. So just one final thing, you're probably wondering, well, how then do you get these social media profiles here? How did you get Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter? You can have YouTube as well, Instagram, maybe a few others as well. How did you go about that? Well, the video here shows you how you can increase your opportunity to get these on your Google My Business listing. So I'll meet you over there.